Good day, my ladies and gents, and my moths in my wool circle group. It was a long road to do these. These will be the last of the wool bundles. They take so much work. Most of these were dyed twice. Some was dyed 3 times. And I'm out of focus here. And we're going to do a teaching video on these mats. Now, the main circle of these mats are all black. You could use this wool, some of it, and when I go through, I'll mention which ones would be good for it. You would have an aged look rather than a bold look. And the really bold one is this one. The embroidery floss is for the second penny. And it will be fun and really interesting to go through this teaching course, but I just wanted to mention that some of this wool I dyed, especially if you were thinking about doing one of these mats. They're not in bundles. They're going to be individual pieces. Now, I wanted to just go over this first. There are some of the pieces that have, this had a red in it. See if I'm in focus. Yeah, good. This had a red in it. So when you're cutting pennies, you will have different shades where you have the mottled, very heavy mottled, different colors. They all still go together, but the best wool for those kits will be the ones that just have the plain mottled, and that would be like these. No bright shades in them. And they do cut wonderfully. Oh. Mostly this wool is for pennies, but there is some quite thin that you could do for applique. It's just a very tiny variance on the shade, and that's what will make your mat look old and aged rather than that bright in-your-face color. And of course, the thread has a difference too. You need to tone down your thread. Okay, so we will get rid of this. They are labeled by name and letter. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then I have a name for them. There are only so many in a bundle. I'm selling them separately, and I'm going to add a little bit of postage, not very much, not much at all. Postage has gone up, and of course these are going to be heavy. They're going to be just under or over a pound, depending on how many you purchase. Let's see if I can get this in focus. I really need a different, isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh. And it's different on both sides too. Okay. Isn't that pretty? Now these are the heavily mottled ones. These are mostly thin wool. Thin wool, I'll show you. It's very nice. So these would be better for applique and different things. If I got that in focus, yes. So the last time I sent orders, shipping is the big thing. The last time I sent orders, I had 13 orders, and it cost me $220 for postage. Everyone went to the States, of course, but Canada is much more expensive anywhere. So I never charge the exact amount of postage because it's just too expensive. I wouldn't pay it, and I don't expect you to pay it. So, oh my. This is where you get the different colors of red, or shades, if you cut that into pennies. So they're going, and these are much larger than the last wool bundle set that I did. So these are probably, what? There are some smaller ones, a bit over 16. That one is 17 and a half, 16 something by 17 something, give or take. So you can just sort of choose what you want out of your bundles yourself rather than me doing it. So I love to make these. These are such fun to make, to see when they come out of the dryer. And I never know how they turn out. And if you do have a preference, just put it in and I'll try as best I can to accommodate you. And this is such good wool. Oh, it's so pretty. And I know I mentioned about ironing. That's a little bit on the bad side there, but it took me 3 days, and I finished up 4 o'clock in the morning on the next day. And you're telling me to buy a steamer. Well, no, that's not going to work. Oh, it's pretty. Okay, I'll put these aside. So that's group A, and it's Amazing Mottles. I'll put those there. This is group B, Berry Mary Reds. It's kind of fun to name these things too. And if there was a tag, I left the tag on. Now, let's see if that's in focus. That's pretty good. So the reason that and I'll go into this when we do the teaching videos a bit more, but, oh gosh, I'm constantly picking. The reason is there's some wool that doesn't need to be felted. You felt your wool to close the fibers so that it doesn't fray. And when you're using blanket wool, it's not an open weave. Most of them, some of them are, of course, but most of them are not that much of an open weave, and they really don't need to be felted to use them. I'd prefer if they were not felted. Gosh, I'll take that off later. So, but there's no way that I can dye them and bring them in the house and wash them and that sort of thing without having them felted because of the dryer and of the dye pots. So when I get them ready to sell or ready to cut pennies or whatever I'm doing or for kits, I don't just plop them in and then just iron. I stretch them, take some of the felting out as much as possible. And I do that with my iron. With the side of my iron, I will go like this, and I'll go like this, and just keep trying to, it's very similar to when you would block a sweater. That's pretty much the best I can describe it. So there's no way that a steamer would work for me. It just has to be done the old-fashioned way. And the idea is to get as much of that felting released as possible to, when you're ironing it, to use. This one is C, Blue Jeans Green. Now these are a bit smaller, I believe. Let me check. They're all, they are all different sizes. What I do is that's 15 and a half. 13.5 by 14. So the smaller ones will be a bit different in price than the larger ones, I think, just to make things complicated for me, of course. So these are not as mottled, you know. These are the great ones for pennies. It's just going to be a little bit of a thing there. And now this is a perfect example of what happens. This is the edge of the blanket. I left that on. And it goes out of shape. It tears. I tear the blankets, and then when it's in the dye pot, in the dryer, everything, it starts to go out of shape. That's when I have to use my iron and try and get them to be square or as close to as possible. Some of them don't. Some of them are quite quite shrunk. This one has a bit of the reds, but most of these don't, and they're mostly the smaller size other than the big one. I'm not going to go through both sizes because it's quite a few of those. But this is C, blue jeans green. And you see it's not very mottled, which is perfect for pennies. A good weight. You can see it's not really thick wool. I do have some thick wool that you probably would use just for pennies. See, that one went out of shape. There's no way I could get it back. Good for the muscles of the arms, though. It's probably better than weightlifting. There's another one that's out of shape. I'm continually picking. So I'm going to do a video of 3 sets. There is 9 of them, 9 different types. So I'll do a video. I'll put, when I do 1 and I'll do 2 and A, I'll give a timestamp, B, timestamp, C, timestamp. But they are quite nice, and definitely not doing any more of these. I will show you in my table is wobbly. I will show you in the teaching video. I'm pretty sure that I have a way to age wool. So I may, oh, that one's pretty. I may do it to, and then sell very primitive, old and aged cottons and wool, so that you can use that and make your own primitives, very, very, very early looking primitives, rather than making it out of new wool and then aging it after it's done. So that is 3. Now I will go on and put another 3 in the next video.